In this presentation, we will be discussing smart tablets, phones, and watches for seniors. The items I will cover is computer pads and tablets. Then we'll talk about smartphones, and after that, we'll talk about smart watches, which are highly underutilized. First of all, we need to take a look at why seniors use computers. First of all, to connect with their family, make phone calls, video calls, especially to their relatives, email family and friends, share photos and videos with their family. Also using the internet to shop on the internet, such as Amazon and eBay and other sites. Search the internet for things of interest. For instance, how to repair things, even something as simple as changing a light bulb. Also streaming programs, and that's looking at various types of programs in movies. It might be videos, it could be interest things. We'll also use these devices to listen to music. They'll also look up their health information of various types of health anomalies. Also look up their medical records from their physicians, look up their test and appointment information, such as keeping calendars and things that they have marked for the day that they want to be reminded of. There's three common operating systems you need to first be aware of. First of all is Android. This is an operating system that was created by a company called Google. The main thing you need to know is they love everyone and they work with everything. They also have the most creative designers and programmers, and the reason is they have very little restrictions for when people do create programs. Apple is probably one of the most common ones used, but they have a private eco-wide system. What this means is that you have to have an Apple product for some of their products to work, especially if you're sharing information from one product to another, such as like a watch to a phone, smartphone, or to a pad. The appearance is always standard. This is the nice part. No matter what you're using, if you're using a smartphone or a pad or a computer, the appearance will be very similar. The security requirements are much more controlled as well. This is one reason programmers might be hesitant to programming towards an Apple product, especially if they're trying to test something out. Apple also has fees that are associated with some of their requirements of programming. But this gives you a much broader and nicer sense of control for the end user as well as the developer. Windows is another product, the most common one. A lot of us have used Windows products in the past. They're more open than Apple, but less open than Android. So they have some restrictions for programmers, but they're not near as severe as they are with the Apple products. Also, Windows were used by earlier programmers because they had, again, open systems for programming. Let's look at tablets. Tablets require internet access. There's many different types. The one on the left we'll cover in a few minutes, as well as all the way to the right. If you notice the one on the left, this is called a grandpad and will have a much easier to read screen with less choices on the screen, but it will cover a lot of information. These tablets are good to use for hearing deficits. You can consider hooking up earbuds, the little things you put in your ears, so it'll enhance your hearing, or you can also connect hearing aids to these products. They're ideal to use as a senior computer because the screens are generally big enough. Some can replace your telephone or your smartphones as well, and they can be used as handheld devices that you can take anywhere that you go. They can fit in a large purse or rollator, holders on seats, and things along this line. Screens are large enough for people with vision problems, especially using with accessory controls, which we'll explain more in detail. You also can have a keyboard added if you don't like using a keyboard on the screen because sometimes they're small or too awkward. This will be discussing iPad and Android Windows setup for accessibility settings. First of all, for hearing, you can use these again with earbuds or hearing aids. That's a big plus. For vision, you can use voice-over, where it speaks to items on the screen. Also zoom, which can magnify the entire screen to make it look much bigger. And also you can display text and size, giving you control over size, contrast, color, many different things. You can also adjust spoken content, where it shows a speak button when you select text. So you can also have your device speak the content on the screen. It's good for physical and motor accessibility as well, such as like touch on certain devices gives you access to assistive touch and other accommodations. The keyboard can let you customize typing when you use an external keyboard. And after your device is set up and activated, you can open up the settings on most of these devices that will offer an accessibility editing capability or an icon, and that will let you see all the things that you can edit on that device. First, let's start with iPad, which is an Apple product. iPad is a proprietary product by Apple. Its intended users are those familiar with using Apple products or those with limited computer knowledge that have relatives or friends that can help them to use their Apple products. The design is a large selection of millions of applications that can be used for many different things, from hobbies to communication to design and many other ways of using your iPad computer. They do frequent updates to keep the product safe as possible with many innovative changes. They're great for portability because, again, they're small enough to tote around, but big enough to give you a nice size screen. They have a large amount of health applications that are frequently updated, and they have great support. If you call the Apple people, they're usually willing to help you. They're fairly quick. You can take them into an Apple store, and they're very good at giving support there, and they'll usually correct about any problem you have. What I mean by this is they are compatible with other Apple products. They're powerful setup capabilities for user with accessibility needs. Again, it gives you a lot of adjustment capabilities. So let's take a look next at some of the positive and negative aspects. Positive, they're great for people that are familiar with Apple ecosystem, or if you're going to have a person help you on your iPad device, and there's people around that can give you the assistance. They're consistent in appearance with their updates, and they have a robust number of applications that you can use for many different things. Again, they have great product support. The negative aspects of an iPad is they can be expensive. The updates can be confusing or cause app inconsistencies. They can disable older apps without notice. An example of this, if you have an application you're using and then they do an upgrade, sometimes you try and open that app and it will not work. Again, they have a lot of things that if you don't study what their updates include, you will be missing out on a lot of shortcuts and easier ways to do things. So it does require some reading every time you do an update to see what that update does afford. Next, let's look at Windows convertibles. A wide variety of products with different manufacturers, but all operate basically the same. The intended users for those that are familiar with Windows products or those that use sophisticated Office programs that are designed for Windows products. Also, those that converse with other Windows users. Those that have little space to use for their computers. An example of a Windows computer is one that can fold over. It can be used in a very narrow space, such as like on an aircraft, on a table, when you're flying. The design, there's many styles, but they all operate the same. They have a large selection of applications and innovative in computer designs. They're designed to work with the smallest spaces, again, such as like while you're flying, where you don't have a lot of room when you open your tablet. Positive aspects of Windows convertibles are the standard operating regardless of the manufacturer. In other words, the screen is always going to look pretty much the same, such like on the Apple products. Family members or other residents can be of assistance provided they use a Windows convertible product. If you're going to people that don't use those products, they may be at a loss to give you assistance. There's also a wide price range. Some of them are not as expensive as the Apple products. Some of them are as or more expensive. They have a robust number of apps available, just like the Apple products, and their updates are less intrusive than Apple's because of the fact that when they do the updates, there's less learning process to go through in most cases. They allow small space for comfort, and they're easier to work during the setup and making choices. Negative aspects are the apps are not required to follow any appearance protocols once you open the application. So you can get a varied types of looks compared to an Apple product, which stays more of consistency and appearance. There's less setup selections in some cases compared to the other products. Next, we'll look at the GrandPad, which is an Android product. The GrandPad is a proprietary company, and they're handled primarily to consume your cellular using a monthly contract. The monthly contract gives you phone access to the GrandPad. The intended users are people that do not want to learn much about how to use a smartphone or computers. They have very, very low learning curve to no learning curve. They're great for people that have had a stroke in the past and have some cognitive disabilities, also disabilities with dementia, poor vision, and thought processes. They're very simple to use. The design is a large panel screen similar to tablets, but the choices are easier to use and understand. Small number of large push buttons, such as like for email. If you open up email, it'll give you pictures of people in your contacts that you can send emails to. It uses a phone service for video calls and internet. Again, this is the monthly charge, so there is an additional phone number. But on the other hand, you can also give up your smartphone if you're using one or other cellular phone. The video calls are compatible with Android and Apple users, and they use their own application called the GrandPad app. In other words, if you have a friend or a relative that uses an Apple product, they can download an application that will let them use the same appearance on their Apple devices that you are using on your GrandPad, also for Android users as well. The companies can set up the GrandPad for you totally. In other words, you can designate an administrator to use for setup, which can be yourself, or it can be a member of your family, or just even a friend. And it does not require the user to be involved in the setup unless they want to be, and they have the capability for doing the setup. At a push of a button, you get automatic phone dialing and video calls from the contact list. So again, very easy to use. Emails using a single icon and contact list. This is very nice for use because of the fact that it is using a single thing. The contact list pops up, and again, you can use your emails that way. Let's look at the positive aspects. No learning curve. You can open up this product, have it set up for you, and you just start using it. You don't need to mess with confusing setups. They're great for individuals with visual deficits because the icons are larger, and they're also smaller in number of content on the screen. They use simple to use icons and freedom of computer knowledge because you can have a designated administrator or the actual iPad company set everything up for you. It has great video applications, and yes, it does have games on it and things like that. help button for immediate support. If you push the button, you will get immediate support, either video or phone, whatever you desire, and they can talk you through any problem you're having. Negative aspects is there is a monthly subscription cost. Again, this is for the phone number and for support. It has a limited amount of applications. Yes, it has games, it has the things you would commonly use, internet access and things like that. But it doesn't have a lot of complex applications, such as the very complex games that kids are used to using today. It is a proprietary system that can be used with or with compatible apps on Apple and Android devices. Next, we'll look at an Android tablet. There are many types of Android tablets. As we said, the iPad is one of them. They have a wide variety of products with many manufacturers. The intended user are for those that want a wide variety of products to choose from, and those that are familiar with other Android products, or they have the ability to get assistance for people that can help them with their Android product. The design concept is many options and variety of tasks capable and very many styles. They have a large selection of applications and innovative computer design. So a lot of these Android tablets look different. They operate different. But here again, this affords the ability to have you choose one that you would be very comfortable using and not being stuck on one type of operating system or appearance. The operating system is the most robust and compatible with many other devices and most other operating systems. Most have a powerful setup capability, and many Android apps are available for unique accessibility needs. So let's take a look at the positive aspect. They're great for communicating with devices designed for the Android system. They have family members or other residents can be of assistance. Generally, they're much less expensive than Apple or Windows products. You can buy these as cheap as the $100 mark or even under. They have a robust number of applications available for almost anything you can think of doing. They have older software that you're using works well with updates. In other words, it has what we call good backward capability. If you're used to using a very old form, let's say of solitaire, playing a solitaire game, when you get updates, you can be pretty well assured that those old solitary games will still work on this device. Many design features are built within it that are unique to each manufacturer and the negative parts are each manufacturer has its own setup steps, and they can be confusing if you're using an Android product and somebody is helping you that uses a different type of an Android product. It may not appear the same for them to help you. The apps are not required to follow any appearance protocols while they're being designed. Okay, let's look at Chromebook. Again, this is another Android product. Chromebooks are more of a laptop than a tablet. Many convert to a tablet, and there's a wide variety of manufacturers. The intended user are people that don't want to learn about computers or do a lot of setup. Those familiar with Chrome browsers find this very easy to use because it uses the Chrome browser as its total appearance. The group administrative tasks can be done by minimally trained administrators. In other words, you can have one person to design all of the Chromebooks in your facility, and they can do this very easily without a lot of learning or having to be a trained technologist. So it's great for schools and teachers to use. The design, it will use the Chrome operating system. It's based on the cloud in a large computer somewhere else. What this means is as soon as you open the product, it is ready to go. It's very fast startup, and when they're doing updates and installation, you are not even aware of it because they do all of these automatically. There's a very low learning curve to using these products. The operating system is updated automatically without interruption. Less frequently used updates are necessary compared to Apple and PC products, and it does afford great portability for moving around. It is great for use by groups of people with a designated single administrator for the group, because there's a very low learning curve to be allowed to do that. Many have powerful setup capabilities, and many Android apps are available for unique accessibility needs. The positive parts of Chromebook is it is cloud-based, so when you open it up, it goes directly to the internet and it starts looking at how it's going to operate, and it updates things automatically. If the internet is not accessible, it will still be usable by using the last recall of what was installed on your computer. It's great for team computing with others to have access from afar. Generally less expensive for compatible features. It's faster startup computing. Again, great administrator control for multiple devices, and that can be done from a location that you're not even located at. Much less maintenance than other systems. The negative aspects, it's best to use with an internet connection. Setups can be confusing due to multiple vendors. Again, this is for the person that's administrating and helping you. Some large apps that do multiple tasks don't work as well on a Chromebook. Some people run into problems such as like using Microsoft Office. It does work, it can work, but it can also create some problems. That's it for tablets. Next, we'll cover smartphones. You have phones from the left where you can see has larger choices of screens and icons. The flip phones are available in smartphones, and also on the right are the newer devices or the more robust devices made by Apple and Android. Screens are smaller than the tablets, so people with visual disabilities can sometimes have problems with smartphones. They have a wide variety of styles and use, much more portable than tablets, and they can fit into most pockets. What does a smartphone have? First of all, it is a telephone. Secondly, it has advanced cameras. Often the more expensive smartphones have better cameras than the cheaper ones, and they can be compatible with the very expensive cameras used by professionals, and again housed in a telephone device. It has internet connection capabilities. You can stream videos on it, which means you can watch movies on these phones. It has many types of radios and readers. It has near field connect, which will let you connect to another smartphone or device that has the same capability. It has a Bluetooth connection. This means that you can use things such as headsets wirelessly from up to 35 feet away or so. You can also use projectors. You can project to your television using Bluetooth if it allows it, and a lot of other things. It has magnetic readers and things that will let you do using a retail transaction, such as like you go out to dinner and it'll come up, it shows the Wi-Fi signature on there or icon. Is all you have to do is hold your smartphone up and it'll make the transaction for you without having to pull out a card or keep your credit cards on hand. They have GPS satellite capabilities for location tracking and two-way transmissions. It has an accelerometer, which allows the phone to detect motion and movements and speed. It also has a barometer, which can detect altitude and density, so you can use it for an altimeter and reading barometric pressure by reading. Let's start out with the Jitterbug phones. Again, this is proprietary. Consumer Cellular is the ones that mainly handle these. Yes, it does Verizon, or it can do AT&T based on the system you want to use, but Consumer Cellular handles the actual connection. The intended user are people that want a simple phone with minimal learning curve. They're great for people with vision problems because, again, they have a strip or very large icons, as we showed you in the models. People that prefer the style and feel of older model cell phones, such as the flip phones, are available. The design on them, they're Android-based operating system. So again, they're very robust. They're easy to understand, reading their banners, making calls, and doing things. Again, people with memory problems will handle these much better than the other products. Large buttons and items on the screen, very low learning curve, and less crowded screen. Positive aspects of Jitterbug phones are they have large icons and banners, simple setup. The flip phone is available, and it's designed for seniors specifically. It's inexpensive compared to other phones as well. The negative aspects is it has a limited number of apps. Yes, you can play games on it. Yes, you have internet connection and most of the things you would want to do. It just doesn't have a large selection of additional, more complicated applications. Next, we look at Apple and Android smartphones. I put these together because they look similar, an Apple on the left and Android on the right, and they also work very similar. There's not much difference. Even if you go into the setups, a person that's used to one phone can frequently help a person from another system. But we still recommend you get help from people that are used to using either Apple if you have an Apple product or Android if you have an Android product. Apple and Android smartphones are used different operating system. They use their own. The intended user for either of these phones are people that want a handheld computer. You can actually replace a computer or an iPad using these phones. People that want apps that do just about anything they can think of, recipe applications, travel applications, making reservation applications, applications of studying things, doing college work, of anything you can imagine. People that like to keep up to date with new and advanced apps and technology. Also designed for people that like a variety of design, size, feel, and operation. This sounds like it's complex, but it's really not, because you'll use these products to the limit of knowledge that you have. The design, both phone systems compete for newer innovations and the best cameras. They're both so similar because they designed everything they can have into them. So when they're competing with each other, they will usually tout the better cameras, and they'll compete mainly with that part of the market. Most work great with hearing aids is Bluetooth. So in other words, you don't have to put the phone next to your ear. You can use your hearing aids, and also you can use the microphone on it. It's great for health and fitness monitoring, and also safest way to use a credit card for bank transactions, because they don't transfer your credit card number. What they do is transfer what we call a token. So the vendor or anybody trying to sneak in to see what you're doing cannot find out what your credit card number is. Considerations, the screen size can be a factor. Also, trying to type can be difficult because the screen is small. Again, with Bluetooth, you can hook up an actual keyboard wirelessly that can use anywhere in the room. But using the screen sometimes can be daunting because the screen typing can be too small, especially for fat fingers. So let's compare these smartphones. The Apple phone, limited number of phone types and styles using the Apple ecosystem. So if you get an Apple phone, it's always going to look the same. That's the nice part. It has stable menus. The menus are always going to be identical. The setups are going to be the same. Currently, there's more synchronized health tracking apps than the Android has, but they catch up with each other over time. A massive amount of health detection and measuring capabilities, and it has a stable, reliable product. So if you go from one form of Apple smartphone to another one, it's going to work the same way. Let's look at Android. Android has all shapes and sizes of phone made by many different manufacturers. The positive part of this is if you don't like the way the Apple looks, you can usually find an Android phone that has the appearance and screen selections and everything else of what is more comfortable for you to use. The setups vary widely, and especially with enhancements. So sometimes that can be difficult if you have a person with another type of Android phone trying to help you, and they're looking through the setup, and they may get lost. They're less expensive, except for the top models. You can get some of these very inexpensive products, and they do work very well. The top models tend to give you more robustness as far as appearance, competition, and they tend to work a little quicker. They have faster processors, and they can do a lot more work. The support and capability varies by the manufacturer. If you need help, you have to really get in touch with the manufacturer a lot of times, because they vary so much in appearance and the way they actually work. Next, we're going to talk about smartwatches. This is the most underutilized product of seniors because they can do so much. The one in the upper left is an Android watch. It's a watch specific to Samsung, and it's their model, and it works with Samsung watches very nicely, and it does a lot of things. You can change the screen appearances on all these watches and do a lot of work. The one on the right is a Apple Watch. The Apple Watch only works with Apple products. It won't work with the Android products as a rule, and they have a lot of great health monitoring capabilities, but so do these others. The bottom left one is a Android system watch that will work with Apple in most cases and or Android smartphones. The watch actually works through your smartphone. It's an extension of the phone, so you don't have to take it out of your pocket or use it that way. They'll also have their own telephone numbers assigned to them, so you don't even have to carry your cell phone with you or even own a cell phone. So let's look. Some of these can replace your phone, as I just mentioned. They have built-in sensors that can detect fall detection. If you actually fall, they can call 911. They can call your friends, whoever you want to have notified. They can measure body signs. The reason is they're on your wrist. Your wrist has a lot of great detectable capabilities for monitoring body signs. They can measure your health status, such as like your pulse, oxygen, and other things I'll discuss. They can measure body movement and body functions of various types. So this is the advantage of watches you cannot get with tablets and you cannot get with the smartphone itself. These have a lot of capabilities for health. Smartwatches, the intended users, people that like to do their phone calls, computing and notifications with their wrist without having to take the smartphone out of their hand or their pocket. For instance, you can receive a phone call and you can make a phone call just by holding your wrist up close enough for you to talk into. People that desire to have constant quick monitoring of medical conditions without having to stop what they're doing. People that require health and fitness monitoring without the hassle of looking for specialized equipment because it is already on a watch. Some products are available to eliminate the need of a smartphone. The design. The wrist has many capabilities for monitoring physiologic functions and tests. Some of these are your pulse rate. They can measure your oxygen level by using what we call colorimetry. They can detect the color changes that the pulse would give when it's beating, and also your oxygen level. Looks at basic EKG by having the other hand touch the phone at the same time, and it will tell you what we call abnormal beat problems. It won't necessarily, or it's not designed to diagnose a heart attack. Some of them claim to check blood pressures. We don't know how accurate a lot of these are. Generally, they're not FDA approved. One way you can test it, check your blood pressure 20 or 30 times at the same time you're doing it with an arm blood pressure cuff. If the readings are very similar, then you can somewhat trust the watch. But it is also great to use to determine if all of a sudden you're getting a super elevation in blood pressure or if it's suddenly going very low. It can measure your movement to tell how much movement you're doing. This allows to do things like tracking the steps that you take, what your sleep is like at night, and many other things. It can detect falls. Not all of them, but some of them can. And they can wind up making the appropriate phone calls to notify people if you had a significant fall or there's an emergency or you don't respond. They have very powerful fitness tracking. Again, the Android watches, when it comes to fitness, and you can use them with Apple or you can use them with Android products, they're designed such as like the Fitbit watch, again, can do an awful lot of tracking that the other two don't use much. Garmin is another product that can do a lot of powerful tracking that the others can't quite keep up with sometimes. You can actually eliminate the smartphone if you get a watch that allows you to have a telephone number designated to it. Most people will use a watch that requires a smartphone to be within about 15 feet. In other words, it operates through Bluetooth connection. An ability to connect your smartphone commands from the wrist. Let's compare smartwatches. The Apple Watches are designed for Apple use only. They have the great health sensors to detect medical measurements and conditions that are already built into the watch. They're the leader in health technology, and they're a limited number of designs, so they have a general similar appearances. The Android watches, on the other hand, there's many choices by over 300 manufacturers. Some work with Android and some work with Apple smartphones as well. Many of the watches are a fraction of the cost compared to an Apple product. You can get an Android watch for $40 that will do a lot of these measurements and it'll do it with accuracy. So they can be much less expensive, except for the top manufacturers. If you get a Samsung or if you're getting a watch such as like a Garmin, their top levels, they're going to be a little more expensive. And again, because they are so compatible and they have much better fitness tracking than all of the other watches have. Some are the leader in fitness tracking. Again, if what an Android or an Apple has today that the other doesn't have, you can bet in a few months they're both going to have that process. Let's take a look at the takeaways from this presentation. If a family member is recommending a specific device for you to use, make sure they are aware of what other devices can do. It may wind up changing their mind and helping you out much better for you to understand the product you're using. Choose a device that you are familiar with if you already use a device, or devices your family or close friends or others that will help you. Don't get a device because one person recommends it. That device may be very nice for them, they're familiar with it, and it may be disastrous for you in trying to learn what it does. Get devices that are compatible with other devices you may be using. Make sure that it will work, for instance, with your pad or smartphone and or watch. You want to be able to get ones that all work together. Consider doing sales transaction using Apple Pay or Samsung Pay if you have a smartphone and a watch that can do that, because this is a much better way to do transactions, especially at retail locations, and it keeps your data much safer and under better control. Consider a smartwatch as the most important device you might want to have, again, because of the health benefits of monitoring. Thank you for watching this presentation, and I hope you have a great day.